Hey pilots, welcome back to my channel, Freedom to Love Yourself. Are you ready to put on your seatbelt so we can fly? That was corny. I know, it's fine. Y'all get used to it. Anyway, so welcome back to my second video. So in this video, my intention is to talk about love and how I interpret what love to mean, specifically for the purpose of explaining self-love. And what self-love means to me. And so first I want to back up a little bit. So as I mentioned in my previous video, I have been doing research about self-love for about a year and a half now. And I don't claim to be an expert on love or self-love or anything. This is just how I have chosen to interpret the things that I've read. And one of the biggest resources that I've had the pleasure of reading has been this book, All About Love, New Visions by Bell Hooks. This book is one of those books that makes you really reflect on some things. And she talks about love in different contexts. So a lot of what I'll be talking about today is some stuff that I learned from this book. But in this book, Bell Hooks talks about our misconceptions of love. So let's get into it. One of the main misconceptions of love that she talks about, and this is just, again, this is my interpretation. I am not by any means an expert on love or self-love or anything like that. This is just the way that I've understood my research and the way that it shows up in my life and the way that I choose to experience the content that I've read. And so we have this idea of love as a feeling, like, I love you. I love you. I love you. I love you. But what does that mean? And so one of the things that Bell Hooks encourages us to break down is not looking at love as a feeling, but rather as an action. I love you. Okay, what are you doing to show me that you love me? And so in her book, she uses Erich Fromm's definition of love, which is the will to extend oneself for the purpose of nurturing one's or another's spiritual growth. And this is not spiritual growth like religious growth. This is just like spiritual growth as like your growth as a person all around. So this has nothing to do with religion. And she makes that very clear in her book as well. And so Bell Hooks adds to that definition. She adds that when learning to love, we must mix various ingredients together. And the ingredients that Bell Hooks talks about throughout her book are care, affection, recognition, respect, commitment, and trust, as well as honest and open communication. That need to be in play in order to have an action of love, of genuine love. And she specifically talks about how just giving care does not mean that we're loving. So it is a piece of the overarching idea of love, but it's not the only thing. And I was like, y'all, I was reading this book and I was like, oh man. Whew. Okay. So it's one thing to say I care about you, and it's another thing to say I love you. And one thing that I kind of take on is that if it doesn't have all six, y'all really got me out here saying six. This is 7. Whoo, 7. Ooh, tripping. Anyway, so all 7 of those ingredients, then it's not genuine love. And she also talks about the power of love as an avenue for healing. And it's because love has the ability to transform us, right? And the purpose of loving is to transform, like what Erich Fromm said, to nurturing one's own or another's spiritual growth. And she talks about these 7 different ingredients. So we can get into care. So you have to care about the person. Okay? Woo! I care about you. I want what's best for you. You. All of you out there, I care about you. Affection towards them. In other words, love and abuse they don't mix. It's like water and oil. Put it under a fire and we're going to die. All right. Recognition. So recognizing, that's like appreciation for someone. Respect. Whew. The bare minimum, y'all. Respecting someone does not have to be earned. And that is something that I think we got a lot about. Like, oh, you got to give respect to get it. You got to earn my respect. Respect someone just because of their human dignity, just because they are a human being. Even if you want to extend it to trees and animals, respect the living. So the next one we're going to get into is commitment. And I don't necessarily mean, oh, he like it so he put a ring on it. But commitment is just simply being dedicated to having a loving practice. It's simply being dedicated to being loving and using love as an action. And trust. So trust is, I find, one of the hardest things, especially when we're dealing with other people, because a lot of us have had our trust broken many times again. And so one thing I like to talk about when we get into this idea of trust is just trusting people to do the best that they can. Okay? But however, recognizing that the best that they can do might not be on par with what you deserve. Okay? So if your worth is up here, what you deserve is up here, but what they're giving you is here, that discrepancy in between, if there's that big discrepancy, that gap, you gotta go. That's when you say, I love you from a distance. I love you. Now back it up. Thank you very much. But no, thank you. So when you trust people to do the best that they can do, then that kind of opens you up to have more of a loving spirit and to not take things personally. And the last piece is the open and honest communication. And admittedly, I have struggled the most with this. And from a research perspective, most people struggle with this piece because it involves the V word. What's the V word, Monique? Vulnerability. And yes, vulnerability is one of the most difficult things because you are exposing yourself for pain, rejection, hurt. But if you don't expose yourself, then how will you ever fully be able to experience that love and all the good things that come with vulnerability? And so, but when you are vulnerable, it's a risk that you take. And when you have to have open and honest communication, you need that vulnerability in order to not just talk to be heard, but listen to understand. And so we have to break down those walls sometimes and be vulnerable, especially if we are going to engage in a loving practice with others and with ourselves. And so after all of this, we've kind of been able to break down love, at least from the way that I understand it based on this book, All About Love, and other research that I've done. But really, we want to get into self-love. And that's kind of the simple part. It's taking all of these ingredients for love and applying them to yourself. What? Yes, taking all of the ingredients, the care, affection, recognition, respect, commitment, trust, and open and honest communication, and applying them to yourself. And so a lot of times when we think about self-love and doing all of these things for ourselves, we think, oh, is that selfish? Is that narcissistic? No, it's not actually. Because unlike selfishness and narcissism, self-love cannot survive in isolation. Let me say that again. Self-love cannot survive in isolation. So we are pouring into ourselves so much and we are loving ourselves that eventually that love that we give to ourselves extends to our communities and others around us. And we become more loving people. And so when we are giving and pouring into ourselves, we're able to better pour into other people around us in a way that is constructive and beneficial to enhancing their spiritual growth as well. And so, really, self love serves as our foundation of a loving practice. It serves as the most necessary piece in order to start to cultivate a loving practice, in order to be more loving towards others. It's kind of like a pyramid. So first we start with loving ourselves, and then it extends to those that we're closest with, and then extends to farther outward to others in our community, and eventually we get all the way up to being able to love strangers as we love ourselves. And that's what self-love looks like. And therefore, it can't be the same as selfishness and narcissism. And if we really think about, especially as Black women, how much we give and give to everyone else, and eventually we end up burnt out, drained, depleted, whatever you want to call it, and we end up stressed. However, when we learn to pour into ourselves and give love back to ourselves, then we are in a better position to give to other people without it hurting us in the end. And that is the key, major key alert, right? And so how do we start to build the foundation for self-love? One thing that Bell Hooks talks about in her book is two major things that I got from it were letting go of shame and letting go of fear. And so we walk around with shame about things that we did, our appearances, anything. Any shame that you have, let it go in order to accept who you are. Because how can you love who you are if you cannot accept who you are? Am I right? And the other piece is that we must stop giving away our power. Well, what does that mean, to give away your power? Giving away your power can look differently based on the situation. It can look like you allowing people to steal your joy, steal your happiness, allowing people to disrupt your peace. Don't allow that. And that's a different conversation for how to stop that. But coming back to it, when we allow people to disrupt our peace, we are giving them our power. When we allow people to make us upset, we are giving them our power. Take it back. It is yours. Take it back. Take it back. That little dude that you've been running around with, that been playing games with your heart, you're giving him the power. You better snatch it. Like when Rashad took his necklace back from Nunu on ATL. Claim your power back, sis. Claim it. And stop abusing ourselves. Y'all didn't know y'all could abuse yourselves, did y'all? Well, let me tell you, yes. Yes, you can abuse yourself. When we put ourselves down, when we speak negatively over our lives and over ourselves, that is abuse. Psychological, emotional, mental, even sometimes physical abuse. And when we abuse ourselves, we're not in a place to be loving. Because as I mentioned before, love and abuse cannot coexist in a relationship, even if that relationship is with yourself. Love and abuse cannot coexist. Like I said, water, oil, flames. So I want to just kind of recap, because I know I talked a lot today. So basically, love is an action, not just a feeling. And there are a lot of ingredients that go into genuine love. Okay? Self-love is not selfish, it is not narcissistic, and it's actually beneficial to others that you love. And remember that you cannot expect to receive love that you do not give to yourself, because if you don't love yourself, how can you expect anyone else to love you in the way that you deserve to be loved? And another quote from All About Love, Bell Hooks says, "When we let our light shine, we draw to us and are drawn to other bearers of light." So in that, she talks about, like, when we allow ourselves to love ourselves, we draw love to us and we are drawn to love. So again, like all of my videos, I want to end with a positive affirmation. So today's positive affirmation is I am love. It flows to me and through me effortlessly. I hope you all liked today's video and that you'll like and comment below and subscribe to my channel. I also hope that you all will follow me at Fly Affirmations on Twitter and Instagram. And always remember that you were born to fly. See you next time, pilots.